My sister laughed as she poured herself another glass of wine. "Enjoying your $500,000 trust fund?" she said, smirking. I froze. The fork in my hand hovered midair. If you're watching this, please subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. It means more than you know. But let me back up a little and tell you how I got to that night. I'm Margaret, 65 years old, widow, mother of 2. I've lived most of my life in a small town called Birch Hollow, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone else's business, or at least thinks they do. I never cared for money. I cared about peace. My husband, Frank, was a school teacher, and I ran a little secondhand shop on Main Street. We didn't have much, but we had enough. We raised our kids with love, paid our bills, and thanked God for what we had. My sister Lorraine was different. She was born wanting more, prettier, smarter, louder. If I baked cookies for the church fair, she'd show up with a 3-tier cake from a fancy bakery and say, "You tried your best, Maggie. We grew up poor, you see." Our father worked 2 jobs at the sawmill and Mom cleaned houses. But Lorraine always believed she was destined for something grander. She married Rich, a real estate developer from Atlanta, and she never let me forget it. For years, she'd visit our little town in her Lexus, dressed in pearls, complaining about how small everything felt here. I'd just smile, make her coffee, and try to ignore the way she looked around my modest kitchen like she was visiting a museum of poverty. Still, I loved her. She was my sister. Blood, no matter how thin, the night she said those words. "Enjoying your $500,000 trust fund?" I thought she was drunk or joking. But her eyes, they weren't teasing. They were mean, sharp, like she knew something I didn't. "Trust fund?" I asked, trying to laugh it off. She just smiled. "Oh, don't play dumb, Maggie. Mom and Dad set it up before they passed. Guess you've been keeping it quiet." I felt the blood rush to my face. "Lorraine, I don't have any trust fund." "You know that." "Oh, please," she said, swirling her wine. "You always did like to play the humble saint." That was the moment I realized she believed it. Not only that, she resented me for it, but there was one problem. I had no idea what she was talking about. After she left that night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table until morning, the words echoing in my head. $500,000. If it were true, where was it? Who was holding it? Why hadn't I ever seen a single penny? I thought about my parents. Dad died first. A heart attack, right there in his recliner after dinner one night. Mom passed 3 years later, quietly in her sleep. They didn't leave much behind, or so I thought. A small house, a few savings bonds, a beat-up car. Nothing like what Lorraine was hinting at. But Lorraine, she said it like fact, and she was never one to mix up details when money was involved. So the next morning, I called her. "Lorraine," I said, "about last night. What did you mean by a trust fund?" She sighed like I was the dumbest person alive. "Maggie, it's not my fault you never paid attention. Mom and Dad set it up for you years ago, after you married that teacher. They said you'd need it more." My throat tightened. "And how do you know this?" "I overheard Mom talking to their lawyer. I wasn't supposed to, but I did. I figured you must have already gotten the money." I didn't. "Well," she said coolly, "then maybe someone else did." And that's when the first crack appeared in everything I thought I knew. For the next week, I couldn't stop thinking about it. A trust fund. $500,000. Set up for me. And I never knew. I went through every old file, every envelope, every dusty box in the attic. I found photo albums, old letters, receipts, but nothing that mentioned a trust. So I decided to call the lawyer who handled my parents' affairs, a man named Mr. Callahan. He was retired now, living in a nursing home, but I tracked him down. When I told him who I was, there was a long pause on the phone. "Margaret Holloway?" he said slowly. "Yes," I answered. Another pause. "Your parents left something for you, but I assumed you already knew." My heart stopped. "What do you mean, Mr. Callahan?" He cleared his throat. "It was an account set up in your name. A trust fund. $500,000? I handled the paperwork myself. But it was transferred. Many years ago. Transferred? To who? There was silence. Finally, he said, to someone who claimed to be your representative. I remember gripping the edge of the counter, trying to breathe. Do you remember a name? I whispered. He hesitated. It's been over 20 years, Margaret. But yes, the last name was familiar. Holloway. My maiden name. Was it Lorraine? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. He sighed. I can't say for sure, but she said she was acting on your behalf. The documents looked legitimate at the time. I hung up the phone and sat there, numb. My sister. My own sister. Had she taken everything? That night, I drove to her house. Her big brick mansion in the hills. She opened the door in silk pajamas, her hair perfect even at 10 p.m. Maggie? What are you doing here? You stole from me, I said. My voice shook, but I didn't care. Her eyes flickered just for a second. What are you talking about? The trust fund. From Mom and Dad. You knew about it. You took it. She crossed her arms. Oh, please. You have no proof. I spoke to Mr. Callahan. That wiped the smugness off her face. She turned away, walking toward her living room. You don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I do. You pretended to represent me. You took my money. She spun around, her voice sharp. You think you deserved it? You, living your little small-town life, acting like you're so good and pure. Mom and Dad always pitied you. Always said you were the fragile one. So yes, they set it up for you. But I needed it more. My chest tightened. You stole $500,000, Lorraine. She looked right at me and said, and I'd do it again. I'll never forget that moment. The way she said it, calm, cold, without shame. For a second, I thought about slapping her. But then I realized something worse. She truly believed she was entitled to it. I left her house shaking. Got in my car and drove aimlessly through the night. I ended up by the lake, the same one where our parents used to take us fishing when we were kids. I sat there in the dark, remembering the two little girls we once were, sharing candy, whispering secrets, promising we'd always protect each other. What happened to that? I didn't sleep that night. And by morning, something inside me had shifted. I wasn't going to let it go. Not this time. Lorraine had taken my parents' final gift, something meant to keep me safe after they were gone. And she thought she could bury the truth, but she was wrong. I didn't tell anyone what happened that night. Not my kids, not my friends at church, not even the woman at the shop who always senses when something's wrong. I just shut down. You'd think after 65 years, betrayal would hurt less. But it doesn't. It hits harder because by then, you know how rare trust really is. Lorraine wasn't just my sister. She was my only living family. And now I couldn't even say her name without my stomach twisting. The next morning, I brewed a strong pot of coffee, grabbed an old folder, and started making calls. If my parents had truly set up a trust fund, there had to be records. Paper trails, bank logs, something. I started with the local bank, Birch Hollow Savings and Trust, the same one my father used for decades. I still remembered his old account number because he'd once taught me how to balance his checkbook when I was 12. I called and spoke to a woman named Brenda. Sweet voice, young, probably new. I gave her my parents' names and asked if there were any records under Holloway Family Trust. She went quiet for a moment, typing. Then she said, "Yes, Mrs. Holloway, there is a record, though it's very old." My heart jumped. "Can you tell me anything about it?" "I'm afraid I can't disclose full details without proper authorization. But it shows as closed nearly 21 years ago." "Closed?" "Yes, ma'am. Funds were dispersed to a representative." That word again. Representative. I swallowed hard. "Can you tell me the name?" "I'm sorry, ma'am. Those records are archived and restricted." "Please," I said, my voice trembling. "This is about my parents' estate. They passed years ago. I just need to know who claimed it." She hesitated. I could hear the compassion in her silence. Finally, she said quietly, the initials listed were LHLH Lorraine Holloway. I thanked her, hung up, and just sat there for a while. I could feel my hands shaking on the table. I spent the next few days digging through every document I could find. Birth certificates, wills, tax forms, even my father's old union records. Then one afternoon, I found something strange. In the back of an old photo album, tucked between two yellowed pictures, was an envelope. It had my name on it. The handwriting was my mother's. Inside was a folded note and a bank statement. The note was short, barely a paragraph, but it broke me. Maggie, this is for you in case anything ever happens to us. Don't let your sister handle the money. She has a good heart, but she makes reckless choices. This trust is for your safety. Promise me you'll keep it secure. There was no signature, no date. Just those words, and stapled to the back was a statement from 2002, showing a balance of $503,047. I pressed my hand to my mouth. The proof was right there. Mom knew Lorraine couldn't be trusted, and she'd tried to warn me. I decided to visit Mr. Callahan in person. He lived 2 towns over in a retirement community that smelled faintly of lavender and disinfectant. When I arrived, a nurse led me to his room. He was older than I remembered, frail, his hair thin and white. But when he saw me, his eyes lit with recognition. Margaret, he said softly, you found me. I did, I replied, sitting down beside him. I need to ask about the trust fund. He nodded slowly. I thought you might. He explained that after my parents passed, he'd received instructions to transfer the funds to Margaret Holloway's appointed representative. The woman who came in had all the proper paperwork, my ID photocopy, a signed letter, even a notary stamp. Everything looked official. Do you remember what she looked like? I asked. He frowned, thinking. Dark hair, slim, expensive coat, confident. Spoke like she was used to being obeyed. That was Lorraine, all right. I clenched my hands together. Did she sign anything? He nodded. I may still have copies in my old office archives if they weren't shredded. I'll make a call. A week later, he phoned me back. His voice shook, but his words didn't. Margaret, he said. I found the file. The documents were falsified. The notary's signature was forged. For a second, I couldn't breathe. She forged everything? I whispered. Yes, whoever handled it knew exactly what they were doing. I thanked him, hung up, and just sat there staring at the wall. The betrayal wasn't just emotional anymore. It was criminal. My own sister had stolen my inheritance, forged my name, and lied for 20 years, and she'd laughed about it. That night, I called my son Jacob. He lives in Chicago, works in finance, smart, sharp, the kind of man who reads fine print for fun. I hadn't planned on involving him, but I needed help. When I told him everything, he didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, Mom, if what you're saying is true, Aunt Lorraine committed fraud. I sighed. I don't want to drag the family through lawyers and courtrooms. I just want what's mine. Mom, he said gently, you don't have to do this alone. He offered to fly down that weekend. Lorraine must have sensed something was happening, because she called the next day. Why are you digging up old family business, Maggie? She asked coldly. You mean the business you stole? Oh, don't be dramatic, she said. You've lived just fine without it. That's not the point. Then what is? You want to ruin both our reputations over money you never even missed? Her tone was smug, the same condescending lilt she'd used since childhood. You took what Mom and Dad left for me, I said. And you lied for 20 years. I did what I had to, she snapped. You had your perfect husband and your sweet little life. I had bills. You wouldn't understand. I understand greed, I said quietly, and I understand betrayal. She hung up. That night I couldn't stop thinking about something my mother used to say. You can't hide truth forever, Maggie. It waits, it watches, and one day, it speaks. So I decided to make truth speak. With Jacob's help, I filed a report with the county probate office. We requested official records of all asset transfers under the Holloway family name. The clerk was polite but skeptical. These cases are rare, she said. After 20 years, most evidence is gone. But then she found something. A scanned transfer form dated June 14, 2004. The signature on it was mine. Only it wasn't. The handwriting was close, eerily close, but the G in my name curved the wrong way. And the notary stamp belonged to a woman who'd been arrested 5 years later for document fraud. Jacob looked at me. "This is it, Mom. This proves she forged everything." I nodded, feeling tears prick my eyes. But then he frowned. "Wait, who's this?" At the bottom of the form, beneath the forged signature, was another name, Stephen Kane, financial consultant. "Do you know him?" Jacob asked. I shook my head. "Never heard of him." He did some quick searching on his phone. Then he looked up, his face pale. "Mom, he was your sister's husband's financial advisor. It all made sense then. Lorraine didn't just steal the money, she had help. Her husband's financial consultant must have helped her forge the papers, move the money, and cover the tracks." I felt sick. This wasn't just family drama anymore. It was a web of lies built over decades. That night, I sat alone in my kitchen, staring at the old note from my mother. Her words echoed in my mind. "Don't let your sister handle the money." I whispered into the quiet house. "I'm sorry, Mom. I let you down." But then I straightened the note, folded it neatly, and slipped it into my purse, because I wasn't done. Not yet. 2 days later, Jacob and I met with a new attorney, a kind woman named Rachel Porter. She specialized in estate recovery and fraud. After hearing everything, she said, "Mrs. Holloway, this is serious. But it's not hopeless. If the funds were laundered through traceable accounts, we can find them." "Even after all these years? How?" I asked. "Paper trails don't disappear. People do. But money leaves footprints." She had a confidence that reminded me of my younger self, the version of me that still believed in justice. We gave her everything. The letter, the old statement, the forged form. She promised to start digging immediately. A week later, she called. "Margaret, we found something." Apparently, the trust fund had been moved through a shell company, Holloway Holdings, LLC, registered under my sister's husband's name. From there, the money had been invested, flipped, and reinvested until it disappeared into private accounts. Rachel said softly, "It's going to take time, but we can prove the original source." I asked, "Will she go to jail?" "That depends on you," she said. I hung up and stared out the window. The autumn light flickered through the trees, and for the first time in weeks, I felt steady, because it wasn't just about money anymore. It was about truth. That night, I took a walk through Birch Hollow, past the bakery, the church, the empty lot where my father's sawmill once stood. Everything changes, I thought. People, towns, time. But some things, some wrongs, stay until you make them right. And I intended to. When I got home, there was a letter on my doorstep. No stamp, no return address. Inside, just one line, written in my sister's handwriting. "If you go through with this, you'll regret it." I read it twice, then set it down. For the first time in my life, I wasn't scared of her anymore. Because when someone has already taken everything, what else can they steal from you? The letter on my doorstep weighed heavier than a brick. "If you go through with this, you'll regret it." It wasn't a threat I could ignore. Not because I feared her, I didn't, but because it meant she was watching. Every step I took, every move I made, and that's when the fear started. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by the kitchen window, watching the streetlights flicker across the empty road. Each shadow looked like a person. Each car passing too slowly made my pulse race. I kept thinking about the $500,000, not for the money itself, though it could have helped pay off debts and secure the little shop, but for what it represented. My parents' last gift to me, Lorraine had stolen it, and now she was warning me off. I called Rachel Porter, my estate attorney, first thing in the morning. "Rachel," I said, my voice shaking slightly, "I just got a letter. Someone knows I'm looking into this. What do I do?" Rachel's tone was calm but firm. "Margaret, you're in danger, but not physically. At least, not yet. This is intimidation. Someone wants to scare you off before you uncover where the money went." My stomach tightened. "Do you think Lorraine is behind it?" I wouldn't be surprised. But it could also be someone she hired. A financial consultant, maybe even a security firm. People who protect assets like this don't ask questions. They just follow instructions. The quiet click of the phone hanging up sounded louder than usual. I spent the morning double-checking my locks, even though I knew that wasn't enough. Then I started going through every old statement, every ledger, every faded envelope I could find from the Holloway accounts. One name kept appearing: Stephen Kane, Lorraine's husband's financial advisor. He was the key to everything. Jacob flew down the next day. Seeing him walking through my kitchen door felt like a small comfort in the middle of a storm. "Mom," he said, wrapping his arms around me, "we're going to find this money. Whoever took it is going to answer for it." I wanted to believe him. I needed to. We started by tracing the shell company Rachel had found, Holloway Holdings, LLC. Rachel explained that shell companies were often used to hide money from the law, but they always left a trail. Even if you're clever, the money moves somewhere, and somewhere, someone knows where. We discovered that over the years, funds had bounced between multiple private accounts. Some were in the Cayman Islands, some in a quiet bank in Switzerland, and a few had been reinvested under different names. Entirely, it was like chasing smoke through mirrors. Then the first strange thing happened. I came back from the bank one afternoon to find my mailbox empty, except for a plain white envelope, again without a stamp. Inside was a single photograph. Me, taken outside my shop early that morning while I had no idea anyone was watching. On the back, in familiar handwriting, "Stop digging, or this won't just be letters anymore." I froze. My hands shook so badly I dropped the photo onto the floor. "Jacob," I whispered. She's watching." He leaned over and picked it up, his face pale. "Mom, this isn't just about money anymore. Someone is serious. That night I didn't sleep. I didn't even try." I sat by the window again, watching the dark street. Every rustle of leaves, every passing car, every shadow made my chest tighten. I kept thinking about Mom's words. Truth waits. It watches. And one day, it speaks. I wanted to make it speak. The next day, Jacob and I visited a small, unlisted financial office in Atlanta. Rachel had tracked down a series of transactions linked to Holloway Holdings. They were subtle, disguised as consulting fees, management expenses, and investment returns. But the pattern was there. We met a man in his 40s, sharp, clean-cut, eyes that didn't miss a thing. "Stephen Kane?" Jacob asked. He smiled thinly. "Depends who's asking." I felt a chill. He didn't deny it. "Mom's inheritance," Jacob said. "Where is it?" Stephen's smile widened, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I'm not at liberty to discuss private clients," he said. Jacob's fists clenched. "Mom's your client. She owns that money. You forged the paperwork." Stephen didn't answer. Instead, he leaned back, steepling his fingers. "You really think you can just waltz in here and take what's been invested for 20 years? I felt rage rise in my chest, but I held it down. He was dangerous, I could tell. Not just legally, personally. That night, the threats escalated. A brick crashed through my shop window. No note this time. Just the brick, smashed glass, and the faint scent of wet cement. I called the police. They filed a report, but no one could say who did it. I also called Rachel. "Margaret, this is serious," she said. "We need security. Cameras, locks, maybe even a temporary relocation while we investigate." Relocation? I wanted to stay. I wanted to fight. But Jacob insisted. "Mom, we can't risk it." She's playing dirty. We need to stay one step ahead. The next morning, We returned to Holloway Holdings Archives, a tiny office in downtown Atlanta. Inside, I found a folder labeled Margaret Holloway, Trust Fund Transfers. It looked innocent enough, but inside were dozens of documents, all signed by my forged signature. Every single one false. And then I noticed something. A separate folder, smaller, unmarked, with a single sheet of paper. It read, "Keep digging if you dare. But the money you seek is only a shadow of what you lost." My hands shook as I read it. Shadows of what I lost? It was like someone was taunting me, daring me to go further. I took a deep breath. I couldn't back down. Jacob and I spent the next week cross-referencing every account, every transaction. We discovered something chilling. The money hadn't just disappeared. It had been funneled into an offshore account under a fake name. A name that traced back to Lorraine's husband, not Lorraine herself. That meant Lorraine might not have acted alone. She had help. Someone still powerful. Someone who didn't want the money to come back to me. Then came the final warning. I was at home late one evening working on my laptop. The lights flickered, then went out completely. I grabbed a flashlight and walked carefully to the breaker. And there, in the shadows of my living room, I saw a figure. I froze. The silhouette moved just enough for me to see a flash of silk coat. Too familiar. Too precise. A whisper of a laugh drifted across the room. Curiosity killed the cat. "Maggie," the voice said. I knew immediately. It was her, Lorraine. She didn't attack. She didn't need to. She just disappeared into the shadows, leaving the faint smell of expensive perfume behind. I didn't sleep that night. Not again. The next morning, I filed a second police report, this time insisting on security cameras inside and outside the shop. I also installed a small personal safe, just in case. But Lorraine's visit changed something in me. I wasn't just chasing money anymore. I was chasing justice, and I would not stop. A week later, Rachel called with news that made my heart skip. "Margaret, we traced part of the offshore account. There's a transaction. Someone moved the money into a trust under a false identity. But the bank left a breadcrumb, an email address tied to Lorraine's husband's company." I grabbed the phone. "We have a lead?" "Yes," Rachel said. "But this person knows how to cover their tracks. Whoever holds the account is watching every move. You need to be careful." I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. I remembered Mom again, her gentle hands and soft voice. Truth waits. It watches. And one day it speaks. Truth was speaking now. But the words were dangerous. That night I dreamed of Lorraine. She was laughing, pouring wine over stacks of money, whispering, "You'll never see it, Maggie. Not ever." I woke up with a start, and I knew, without a doubt, she would do anything to keep it from me. The next day, Jacob and I booked a flight to Atlanta. We had to confront the people behind the shell accounts. We had to find the money, and we had to do it before Lorraine realized we were onto her. Atlanta in November was gray and restless, as if the clouds themselves were conspiring to warn me. I stepped off the plane, Jacob at my side, clutching his briefcase like a shield. "This is it, Mom," he said quietly. "We follow the money step by step. No shortcuts," I nodded. My hands were cold, but my mind burned. I wasn't just fighting for money anymore. I was fighting for truth. And for the last gift from my parents, we rented a small car and drove to a nondescript office building in Midtown Atlanta. Rachel had tracked the email tied to Lorraine's husband's company. Whoever owned it was careful, using fake names, VPNs, and offshore servers. "Mom," Jacob whispered as we walked up the cracked steps. "If they're expecting us, we need to be ready for anything." I swallowed hard. I'm ready. I've waited decades for this. Inside the office, everything looked ordinary. Gray walls, humming fluorescent lights, a receptionist typing furiously behind a desk. But I felt it. The eyes watching us. The tension in the air. We introduced ourselves as financial auditors, a small lie, but plausible. The receptionist hesitated, then gestured to a back office. Mr. Kane isn't in, she said. But Ms. Donovan might help. Ms. Donovan, another name Rachel had uncovered. She was listed as a trust manager, but in reality, she was one of the silent hands moving the money. The office smelled faintly of coffee and fear. Ms. Donovan, a sharp, angular woman in her 40s, led us to a small conference room. Her eyes flicked over me, then Jacob. "You're looking for Holloway Holdings?" she asked. I nodded. Her lips pressed together. "Follow me." We walked down a dim hallway, her heels clicking against the linoleum floor. The air felt heavy, almost suffocating. She opened a metal door, revealing a small archive room stacked with binders. "This is all the public filings," she said. "Private accounts are not listed here." I felt my pulse quicken. Jacob stepped forward. "Can we see the transactions tied to Margaret Holloway?" Ms. Donovan hesitated. "You shouldn't be here." "Please," I said softly, trying to keep my voice steady. "This is my money. My family's trust." She paused, then sighed. "Fine, but only part of it. And you won't like what you find." She handed us a thick binder, labeled Holloway Offshore Accounts. Inside were dozens of printouts, transfers, wire logs, false names, shell company accounts. I traced the flow of the money with trembling fingers. From Holloway Holdings, it had moved through multiple accounts in Europe and Asia, some investments in real estate, others in stocks. And then, I froze. One account had been transferred to my sister's name, directly. Not her husband's, not some shadowy figure. She had been the mastermind all along. Jacob leaned over my shoulder. "Mom, she's been moving it carefully, covering her tracks for 20 years. But we can prove it now." I swallowed hard. The betrayal burned anew. 20 years. 20 years she had lied, manipulated, and laughed while I lived in small-town simplicity. And now, it was all laid bare. That evening, we returned to the hotel. I felt eyes on me. Everywhere I went, I sensed them. A car parked too long across the street, a shadow moving behind the blinds. I confided in Jacob. "They're following me." He clenched his jaw. "Mom, they are. But we have to keep going. If we stop now, they win." The next day, Rachel arranged a meeting with a cybersecurity expert. He showed us how Lorraine's team had been covering their digital footprints. Encrypted emails, VPNs, fake IPs, proxy accounts. Everything designed to hide the trail of the stolen money. But he also showed us the weakness. Even the most careful operators leave a pattern. A repeated login time, a reused password, a bank account linked to a real identity somewhere. "We can track it," he said, "but you have to act fast. Any delay, and the trail goes cold." I felt a mix of relief and fear. Relief because hope existed. Fear because I knew Lorraine would stop at nothing to protect herself. That night, as I walked back from a diner, I noticed a man standing across the street. Tall, dark coat, hat pulled low. He didn't move, just watched. My stomach tightened. "Jacob," I whispered, "he's here." He disappeared before we could confront him. But I knew then that this wasn't just money anymore. Lorraine had allies. People willing to intimidate, follow, and threaten me to protect her secret. Over the next few days, Rachel coordinated with the bank to freeze the accounts linked to Lorraine. It wasn't easy. Some of the accounts were overseas, requiring legal maneuvering, letters of authorization, and international subpoenas. Meanwhile, Lorraine started escalating. I received another envelope, heavier this time. Inside were 2 items, a small golden locket and a photograph of my childhood home. On the back, "I warned you, Maggie. Stop, or next time it won't be just letters." I felt cold. This was personal now. Jacob and I decided to confront Lorraine directly. We drove to her mansion, careful not to reveal our intentions. She answered the door wearing that same smug smile, pearls gleaming in the morning light. "Margaret," she said sweetly. "What a surprise." I stepped forward. "Lorraine, I know everything. The money, the forged documents, you and your husband's accomplice." Her smile faltered. For a brief moment, I saw fear. Real fear. But she recovered quickly. "I don't know what you're talking about." Jacob's voice was sharp. "Stop lying, Aunt Lorraine. We traced every account. We have proof." Her eyes narrowed. "And what if I deny it? What then?" "I'll take you to court," I said. "I'll take everyone involved. This ends now." That night, as we drove back to our hotel, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every turn, every shadow, every passing car seemed deliberate. We weren't just fighting for the money anymore. We were fighting for our lives. Rachel called late that night. "Margaret, I've spoken to the authorities. They're aware of the threats. You'll have protection if needed. But Lorraine is dangerous. Be careful." I hung up and stared at the ceiling. I had underestimated her. The next morning, a mysterious envelope arrived at the hotel. Inside, a USB drive. No note. No explanation. Jacob plugged it into the laptop. Files began to load. Financial documents, spreadsheets, and emails. And then I saw it. A single document labeled, "Margaret Holloway, Offshore Transfer Log." It was the smoking gun. Every transaction, every transfer, every false name, and at the very bottom, in bold, "If she tries to reclaim this, remove her." I shivered. It wasn't a threat anymore. It was a plan. I realized then that Lorraine had thought 20 years was enough to bury the truth. She had underestimated me, and I knew deep down that uncovering this money would change everything, not just financially, but morally. It would expose lies, betrayal, and the very people who had tried to control my life for decades. That night, I wrote in my journal, "I am no longer the little girl hiding behind Mom's apron. I am ready to fight for the money, for the truth, for Mom, for myself." And with that, I knew there was no turning back. I could feel it in my bones before the call even came. Something was about to happen. Something big. The morning started like any other. The hotel room smelled faintly of stale coffee, and the city outside buzzed with the usual weekday noise. But my instincts screamed that today would change everything. Jacob was reviewing the offshore transfer logs I had saved from the USB drive. His brow furrowed as he scrolled. "Mom, this is worse than we thought." I sat on the edge of the bed, clutching a mug of cold coffee. "Worse how?" He pointed at the screen. "The money isn't just in one or two accounts. It's fragmented, hidden in at least 10 different banks worldwide. And some of the transactions were routed through private trusts, legally opaque, extremely hard to trace." I felt the weight of it sink into my chest. 20 years of lies, and we were only seeing the tip of the iceberg. Then my phone rang. Unknown number, I hesitated. But Jacob nudged me. "Answer it, Mom. Whatever it is, it can't be worse than ignoring it." I did. A voice, calm but chilling, said, "Margaret Holloway, stop digging, or the next time you wake up it won't be a dream. Think very carefully." Click, I dropped the phone. My hands shook uncontrollably. Jacob's face was pale. "Mom, that's not a threat you ignore." I swallowed hard. "I know, but I can't stop now. Not after everything." We spent the next few hours contacting Rachel, mapping out every lead. She recommended a temporary safe house, somewhere we could work without being watched, somewhere out of Lorraine's reach. We packed the essentials, laptops, USB drives, old files, and, oddly enough, Mom's faded note warning about Lorraine. I tucked it in my purse like a talisman. The safe house was small, tucked into the outskirts of the city. It had a single security camera and reinforced doors. Not luxurious, but sufficient. As I unpacked, Jacob set up a secure network for our research. It felt surreal. Just a few weeks ago, I was living quietly in Spring Creek, worrying about small-town life and church bake sales. Now, I was hiding from my own sister, piecing together a 20-year-long web of lies and theft. I spent the night reviewing the files on the USB drive. Every account, every transaction, every shell company. Lorraine had covered her tracks meticulously. But patterns emerged. One bank stood out. Sable Trust Bank in Switzerland. Accounts under multiple pseudonyms all linked back to Lorraine's husband's consultant, Stephen Kane. And one email address, used repeatedly for verification, traced directly to Lorraine herself. My pulse quickened. This was the break we needed. The next morning, Jacob and I contacted an international investigator Rachel recommended. His name was Marco. Mid-40s, leather jacket, eyes that seemed to miss nothing. He arrived at the safe house with a laptop and a stack of notebooks. "Margaret Holloway," he said, shaking my hand. "We've been expecting your call. Let's find your money." I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this was finally within reach. Marco worked fast. He began tracing the digital breadcrumbs, carefully bypassing the layers of VPNs and false IPs Lorraine had set up. Hours passed. Then came the first real breakthrough. "Margaret," Marco said, voice tight with excitement. "One of these accounts, it's active. Right now, and we can trace the real identity." I leaned closer. "Who?" He hesitated, then typed rapidly. The screen displayed a name I didn't recognize, but the address gave me chills. It was Spring Creek. Lorraine hadn't moved the money overseas exclusively. Part of it had been hidden right in my hometown, under the noses of everyone, even me. That night, I couldn't sleep again. Every shadow outside the safe house looked like Lorraine. Every passing car seemed to follow us. Then came the knock. Quiet, deliberate, Jacob went to the door. "Who is it?" He called, no answer. Just silence. I whispered, "Check the peephole." He did. Nothing. But when he opened the door, there was a single envelope on the mat. Inside, a photograph of me in the hotel lobby earlier that day. Taken without my knowledge, and written on the back in familiar handwriting. "You can't hide from me, Maggie." "Stop now." I clutched the envelope to my chest. Fear surged, but it mingled with something else. Rage. The next morning, we decided to act. Marco would handle the digital tracing. Jacob and I would go to Spring Creek. It was risky. But the trail had led us here, and hiding any longer would only give Lorraine more time to cover her tracks. We rented a small car and drove back. Every mile closer felt like walking into a trap. Spring Creek was quiet, deceptively so. The old bakery, the church, the empty lot where my father's sawmill once stood, everything looked normal. Too normal. I could feel Lorraine's presence everywhere, watching, waiting. Jacob held my hand. "Mom, we'll get it back. I promise." I nodded, trying to believe him. But deep down, I knew this was far from over. We went straight to the property listed in Marco's trace. It was a small, unassuming building, a storage unit. Nothing fancy, nothing to hint at a fortune hidden inside. I felt my stomach tighten. This could be it. Or it could be another dead end. We approached cautiously. Jacob unlocked the unit with Marco's instructions. Inside, rows of safety deposit boxes, each labeled with innocuous codes. Marco smiled. "One of these is yours." I felt my hands tremble as I opened the first box. Empty. Second box, empty. Third. And then I saw it, a small leather briefcase. Inside, stacks of papers, envelopes, and certificates. The colors of money and investment statements filled me with both awe and disbelief. Jacob gasped. "Mom, this is it. This is your inheritance." I clutched the papers, tears stinging my eyes. 20 years. 20 years of stolen opportunity, lies, and betrayal. And it was finally mine again. But victory was short-lived. A noise behind us. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. I froze. We weren't alone. Jacob grabbed a nearby metal rod. I gripped the briefcase. The door clicked open, and there she was. Lorraine, smiling, calm, deadly. "Found it, did you?" she said, her voice like ice. "I warned you, Maggie." "But here you are." I felt a surge of fear. Not for the money, but for what she might do next. "Lorraine," I said, voice steady despite shaking inside. "It's over." You can't keep running. This money belongs to me. Mom left it for me. 20 years is enough. She laughed softly. 20 years is just the beginning. You don't understand the game, Maggie. You've just walked into it. I knew then that the real battle was about to begin. Not in courts. Not in banks, but here. In Spring Creek. Face to face with the woman who had betrayed me my entire life. Lorraine stood there in the doorway, her eyes cold, calculating, the faintest curl of a smile on her lips. I clutched the briefcase tighter, feeling the weight of 20 years of stolen inheritance in my hands. You shouldn't have come here, she said softly, almost conversationally. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I had to, Lorraine. This ends today. Jacob stepped in front of me, shielding my side. Step away from her, he said. His voice was low, tense, almost a growl. Lorraine's eyes flicked to him. Ah, the loyal son. How touching. She moved closer, deliberately slow, like a predator circling its prey. I could hear my heartbeat, loud in my ears, each thump a drum of fear and adrenaline. You really think you can take it back? She asked, voice dripping with mockery. I know I can, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Mom left it for me. You had no right, she laughed then. Not just a laugh, a cold, sharp laugh that made my skin crawl. Oh, Margaret. Always so righteous. Always so naive. Did you really think you could outsmart me? Then the first warning came. A shadow moved behind her, tall, broad-shouldered, masked. Someone else, Jacob saw it first.
Mom, get back.
He yelled. Before I could react, the figure stepped forward, blocking the exit. My chest tightened. We were trapped. Lorraine tilted her head. You see? You're never alone in my world, the masked figure lunged. Jacob swung the metal rod and the man staggered back. I swung the briefcase like a weapon, knocking him sideways. Papers flew across the floor, scattering like autumn leaves. Lorraine watched, amused. Impressive, Maggie. But it won't be enough. I realized then how much danger I was in. This wasn't just a game of money or fraud anymore. It was about control, about fear, and Lorraine was willing to do whatever it took to keep it. I remembered Marco's words. Patterns exist, even in the most careful systems. Follow the pattern and you'll find the weakness. I scanned the room. My eyes caught the back corner, a ventilation hatch, slightly ajar. It wasn't big, but it was enough for me to slip through if Jacob distracted them. Jacob, I whispered, nodding toward the vent. He understood immediately. He charged toward Lorraine, shouting, swinging the rod to keep her distracted. I crawled to the hatch, wiggling inside. My heart pounded, breath shallow, every muscle screaming. The ventilation tunnel was narrow, dusty, and suffocating. I could hear the scuffle behind me, Jacob grunting, Lorraine cursing. Somewhere deep in the building, a door slammed. I pressed my hand to the metal, trying not to breathe too loudly, and then I saw it. A small exit at the far end of the vent. The way out. I pushed myself forward, fingers scraped raw against the metal edges. My legs burned, but I didn't stop. Finally, I emerged into a dark alley behind the building. The night air hit my face like a slap. Relief and fear mingled. I didn't know if Jacob had made it out. I didn't know if Lorraine was coming for me. But I had the briefcase. I had the proof. And for the first time in years, I felt a flicker of hope. The next day, Rachel coordinated with international law enforcement. The trail of accounts, the shell companies, the offshore transfers, all evidence now being compiled into a case. I sat with Jacob as he typed out emails and called contacts, mapping everything. Lorraine's network was extensive, but cracks were appearing. Every wire transfer, every fake account, every misused name was a breadcrumb leading to the truth. Then came another blow. Marco called, his voice tight. Margaret, there's something you need to know about your parents' original trust. Something you didn't see in the documents. I froze. What is it? He paused. There's an additional clause. Hidden, protected, only accessible under very specific conditions. It could change everything. My heart skipped. Change everything? Yes, Marco said. It's possible that more than the $500,000 exists. A secret allocation, set aside for you. But it's locked, legally and digitally. You'll need a full legal push to claim it. I felt a rush of hope, but also fear. Could it be real? Could Mom really have protected something from Lorraine? Jacob squeezed my hand. Mom, we're close. Don't give up now. Whatever she's hiding, we'll get it. I nodded. That night, Lorraine sent another warning. No letter. No phone call. Just a text. You think you've won? You've seen nothing yet. Stop now, Maggie, or the next time won't be a warning. I read it, then deleted it. I wasn't stopping. The next morning, we traced one last active account to a lawyer's office in Switzerland. We weren't allowed inside. International banking laws were strict, but Rachel had contacts. We had a meeting via video conference, and there she was, Lorraine. She appeared on the screen, seated in a sleek office, smiling with the same smug confidence. I see you found the breadcrumbs, she said. Impressive, but you're too late. The money's already been moved again, and this time it's gone beyond recovery. I clenched my fists. You can't keep it forever. You'll be caught. The truth always comes out. Her smile faltered slightly. We'll see, Maggie. We'll see. The screen went black. I sat back, heart racing. She was confident, dangerous, and resourceful. But so was I, and I wasn't done. The night was thick and heavy, like it was holding its breath along with me. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't even think straight. Lorraine's smug face haunted me from every corner of my mind. Jacob sat beside me, laptop open, eyes scanning the trail we'd been following for weeks. Mom, he said softly, this is it. The last lead. We either reclaim it now or lose it forever. I clenched my hands around the briefcase, the weight of 20 years pressing down. I'm ready. Let's finish this. We returned to the safe house, but something was different. A car idled across the street. The kind of car you notice because it doesn't belong anywhere. No plates, windows tinted black. I felt a chill. They're here, I whispered. Jacob nodded, eyes narrowed. We're not running. Not today. Marco arrived just after dusk, laptop in hand, trench coat flapping in the wind. Margaret, Jacob. The trail leads to a private vault. Switzerland, Geneva. But it's heavily guarded. Security cameras, biometric locks, and, I suspect, Lorraine's personal watchman. I swallowed hard. Then we take it. We have to. Marco nodded. I'll handle the digital side. You two need to be careful, and fast. We spent the night planning. Every step, every potential obstacle, every worst-case scenario. I thought about Mom's voice, soft and firm, guiding me through life's storms. Truth waits. It watches. And one day it speaks. This was that day. The next morning, we flew to Geneva. The city was cold, crisp, and intimidating. Luxury cars, glass towers, and quiet streets that seemed too clean, too organized. The vault was hidden beneath a nondescript office building. Marco had prepared every digital trick, every bypass, every security loophole we could exploit. I felt the tension tighten like a vice. Every step toward the building made my pulse pound faster. Inside, everything was sterile. White walls, security cameras, the faint hum of climate control. Marco led us to a door that concealed the vault entrance. This is it, he whispered. Biometric access. Security codes. 2 guards at the main gate. Jacob's jaw tightened. We split up? Marco nodded. Jacob, distract. Margaret, follow me. You'll need to stay sharp. I followed Marco down a narrow corridor to a small side entrance. He pulled out a compact device and the lock clicked open. The vault door loomed ahead. Thick steel, state-of-the-art biometric scanner, keypad, the works. I held my breath as Marco typed in the sequence we'd traced, his fingers flying across the keypad. Click. The door opened. Inside, rows of safety deposit boxes gleamed under the dim vault lights. I walked past them, heart hammering. Every box, every label, every tiny lock felt like a barrier to my past, my parents, and my stolen inheritance. Marco pointed. There, Holloway number 17. I reached out, fingers trembling. The key turned. And inside, stacks of paperwork, certificates, bank statements, and a single envelope marked in Mom's handwriting. For Margaret, only when you're ready. I opened it. My breath caught. Inside was the original trust document. Not $500,000. Far more, and a letter. If Lorraine ever touches what's ours, she will answer for it. I trusted you to finish this. Tears pricked my eyes. 20 years of betrayal, fear, and stolen opportunities. And now, finally, vindication. But our victory was short-lived. The sound of footsteps echoed in the vault. Slow, deliberate. I froze. Lorraine. Her silhouette appeared at the door, leaning casually against the frame, eyes cold. You really think you could outsmart me? She said, voice calm, almost sweet. Jacob stepped forward. Step away from her, Mom. Don't let her intimidate you. Lorraine's smile widened. Intimidation? No. I'm just here to finish what I started. And then the other guards appeared. Hidden doors, shadowy figures, weapons glinting faintly. I realized we had walked straight into her trap. I clutched the envelope and briefcase. Marco, what now? Marco's face was grim. We improvise. The chase began. We darted through the vault corridors, alarms blaring, metal doors clanging behind us. Jacob knocked over a cart of filing boxes to block the pursuers. I ran, clutching Mom's envelope like it was the only thing keeping me alive. We reached a stairwell. Narrow, twisting, claustrophobic. I could hear Lorraine's voice taunting just beyond the metal doors. Margaret? You always were a stubborn little girl. I swallowed the fear. I'm not a little girl anymore. We burst into the alley outside the building. Cold Geneva air hit us like a shock. Jacob grabbed my hand. Go. I'll slow them down. No, I shouted, but he pushed me forward. Get the trust. That's all that matters. We ran through the streets, blending into the morning crowd. Every corner felt like danger. Every shadow could be an enemy. Finally, we reached a small taxi stand. Marco flagged a cab. Inside, we huddled together, catching our breath. We looked back. The building loomed, silent, ominous, and I knew Lorraine was inside, furious, planning her next move. Back at the safe house, we laid out everything. The original trust, the offshore accounts, the evidence tying Lorraine to every false transfer. I felt a rush of triumph, but also exhaustion. 20 years of lies, betrayal, threats, and danger, all coming to a head in this whirlwind of suspense. That night, as I held the envelope and reread Mom's letter, I realized something. Lorraine had tried to control everything, the money, the narrative, even my life. But she had underestimated me. I wasn't just a victim. I wasn't just a sister or a daughter. I was the one who could finally set the record straight. The morning sunlight felt almost cruel after the tension of Geneva's nights. I stared at Mom's letter and the original trust documents. The ink faded, but the message clear. I was meant to reclaim what was mine. Jacob paced beside me. Mom, today we finish this. No more hiding. No more running, I nodded. The adrenaline coursing through me was sharp, painful but necessary. I wasn't just fighting for money anymore. I was fighting for the truth, for justice, for my life. Marco had traced Lorraine's last known location. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was gathering her final allies, desperate to protect her empire of lies. You'll need to be careful, Marco warned. She's cornered, dangerous, and she knows your every move. I felt the weight of that warning, but I also felt something stronger. Resolve. I had waited 20 years for this. I wasn't turning back. We arrived at a secluded estate outside the city, the air crisp, trees casting long shadows over the manicured lawns. Lorraine was inside, orchestrating her defense like a general. Security cameras, armed guards, and locked doors, everything in place. But I had something she didn't. The truth. and the courage to act. We approached the main entrance. Jacob, Marco, and I moved quietly, blending into the shadows. I clutched Mom's envelope, the original trust inside, as if it were armor against everything Lorraine had ever thrown at me. Marco whispered, "Once you step inside, there's no turning back. Be ready for anything." I nodded. The door opened before we could knock. Lorraine stood there, calm, almost regal. "Margaret," she said, voice smooth, dangerous. "I was wondering when you'd show up." I stepped forward. "This ends today, Lorraine. Every lie, every stolen penny. It's over," she laughed softly. "Do you really think you can take it back? You have no idea what you're up against." Then the first blow came. Her guards emerged from hidden doors, weapons in hand. Jacob stepped in front of me. "Mom, behind me." Marco moved fast, disabling 2 of the guards with a mixture of skill and luck. Chaos erupted. I realized then that this wasn't just a fight for money. It was a fight for our lives. Lorraine advanced, her face twisted with anger. "You should have stayed in Spring Creek, Margaret. You were easier to control there. I'm not that girl anymore," I shouted, voice steady despite the fear. "I'm your sister, and I'm taking back what's mine." She lunged and I dodged, swinging the briefcase to keep her at bay. Every movement, every heartbeat, every breath was a calculation. 20 years of preparation, decades of lies. And now, it all came down to this. In the chaos, I noticed the safe hidden behind the grand fireplace. It had been the final vault, the ultimate account holding Lorraine's last reserves. I ran for it, breath ragged, heart hammering. Jacob covered me, fending off Lorraine's last desperate guards. I opened the safe. Inside, stacks of documents, certificates, and one small envelope labeled in Mom's handwriting. For Margaret? Only when she's ready to claim the truth. I opened it, hands shaking. Inside was everything. Every hidden account, every transfer, every secret Lorraine had tried to bury. And at the bottom, a note from Mom. "Lorraine cannot erase what is rightfully yours. You have the strength to reclaim it all." Lorraine's voice rang out behind me. "You think this changes anything? This money? This trust? It's mine if I decide it is." I turned slowly, holding the envelope high. "It's never been yours. And now, the law and the truth are on my side." Her face twisted, rage spilling over. "You'll regret this, Margaret." I felt no fear, only clarity. 20 years of doubt, betrayal, and humiliation had ended. The weight of Mom's wisdom, the courage of Jacob and Marco, and my own determination gave me power I hadn't realized I possessed. We stepped outside, evidence in hand, and contacted authorities. Within hours, the law had intervened. Lorraine and her accomplices were apprehended. The international accounts were frozen. The stolen funds were returned. I stood in the sunlight, finally free, finally vindicated. That evening, Jacob and I sat in silence, exhausted but triumphant. I opened Mom's final letter again, rereading the words I had clutched like a lifeline. "Strength comes not from wealth, but from truth." You have both. I felt tears on my cheeks. Relief, grief, joy, all mingling. 20 years of secrets, betrayal, and fear. Finally resolved. And then the last revelation. The original trust fund, the one Lorraine had tried to steal, was far larger than $500,000. Mom had left multiple contingencies, hidden accounts, and protections. The $500,000 was just the visible portion. The rest, carefully safeguarded, was now fully in my hands. I felt the enormity of it. Not just the money, but the justice, the closure, the power to move forward without fear. That night, I wrote in my journal, "I am free. Free from lies, fear, and betrayal. I reclaimed what is mine. Not just money, but my life, my dignity, and my truth. Mom, I did it. I hope you are proud." Lorraine tried to control my life for 20 years. But in the end, it was truth, courage, and perseverance that won. And now, with the trust secured, the accounts reclaimed, and the danger behind me, I could finally breathe. The nightmare was over, but the lessons, the pain, and the love that carried me through would stay with me forever was